Happy motherfucking birthday to you. Happy motherfucking birthday to you. Happy late motherfucking birthday to Chuck. Happy motherfucking birthday to you.
It's over! Oh, what a right hand!
Welcome to InDaClinch with Chuck and D. I'm Chuck.
And I'm D.
Man, what a wonderful couple of weeks it's been.
It has. Full of great MMA fights at
Great
that.
MMA fights. When we're talking great MMA fights, we're going to start with Strikeforce.
I'm going to have to say that right now, that Strikeforce card that took place on December 4th, to me, was by far the best MMA fight card of the year.
Easily. Hands down.
Very entertaining from start to finish.
UFC's getting its ass kicked in terms of just putting together the right kind of fights.
There's been a lot of lackluster performances or fight cards put on. I mean, there's been great fights followed by a bunch of mediocre ass shit.
Right. Or one headliner fighting a bunch of garbage.
Right. I mean, even the last one.
Well, let's focus on Strikeforce. Silva versus Kyle. Kyle was a late-minute add to this fight with Silva.
Right.
I got to say, this is my first time seeing Silva, and the man is a giant.
Hey, well, Bigfoot, as he's called. I mean, the dude, he is a giant.
But I'm gonna tell you something. Kyle hit him with that. I thought that dude was gone, man.
I thought it was over there too, and
I think Kyle punched himself out on the ground, and
I think he did. And he didn't have anything left after that. And you got to understand, man, Bigfoot, that dude's head. First of all,
you got to really check your manhood when a man can hold you down with one hand and just.
Yeah, he was hammer fisting the shit out of Kyle
he beat
too.
The hell out of him.
And Kyle is actually. I want to say he moved up in weight. He's usually fighting at light heavyweight too.
Yeah, he moved
up for that fight. So that takes a lot of courage too. So
the next fight on that card was
well, this is not even a fight. This was just like this is like a bullying of a younger dude fighting an older man.
Yep. It was Lawler versus Matt Lindland.
Matt Lindland, don't get me wrong, phenomenal fighter, great fighter throughout his
Greco-Roman wrestler.
You know, just all around superb fighter. Why would you stand and bang with fucking Ruthless or Robbie Lawler? I have no idea, but he did, and he paid the price.
He reaped the benefits.
And what was interesting about this fight card the Mike Kyle fight was already exciting enough,
right.
But then when it went and used like the way Matt Lilland's toes were like his whole body like locked up, you know what I'm saying? Like He was having a seizure when Lawler like knocked him out. And then it went right into the next fight.
Right. The next fight, Paul Daly versus Scott Hands of Stone Smith.
Paul Daly is one of the most exciting European fighters, MMA fighters out there right now. I think he's more exciting than.
I still think it was a mistake for the UFC to let this guy go.
I think so too. Because Koscheck is a pure asshole.
Yeah, he's a douchebag. We'll get to Koscheck later.
And it was befitting for that Kim to go because he actually started off. He was with Elite XC when Elite XC went under. He signed with UFC, and then he's now back at
after the bell. Now he's back at
Strikeforce.
And I'm gonna just tell you something. Scott Smith ain't gonna recover well from this knockout. I mean, he got knocked out so bad when they turned the man over. He had a booger in his nose.
He did have a booger in his nose. And the face plant. I mean, I'm gonna tell you something. That kid has a monster of a left hand. Like both his hands are vicious, and he circle left and like yeah, and and then like no hands. He walk a flock at the fall, you know. He no hands to fall. I mean, dude. I mean, usually when you see an MMA fight,
he went
like
hard on the paint.
Yeah, he did. He fell hard on the mat. Yeah. When you see a fighter get hit, you like, oh my god, he's knocked out. Please, like, you know, you want him to land like on his arm or some shit like that.
No.
This kid.
Not only did he land on his face, but then Paul Daly got in a couple of extra shots right after that.
It was nasty.
And then, as if that wasn't enough excitement, Dan Handu Hollywood Henderson and Renato Mean Mugger Sobral.
Hey, Babalu.
Do you think that Babalu regrets waiting 10 years to fight Dan Henderson anymore?
No. Not after that. I mean, cause dude, it was funny because Babalu, like when he after he knocked him out, like Babalu was like looking at like. I mean, you know, it's like, dude, like damn, did he just like? It was like, what was so funny is that all those fights ended in like a knockout or a TKO.
Right.
And it was like one after the other, and it was like, yo, I thought I was watching like.
So all of that excitement you thought would have built you up for, you know, that UFC card that followed that.
Oh, that same night that I like barely turned to at the very end.
Right, the Ultimate Fighter.
Which I DVR'd and I DVR'd it. I watched it and I was like, man, you know what I ended up doing? You know what I ended up doing? Cause I didn't want to go to sleep depressed, so I went back and watched the Strikeforce card over again.
So the following week was the GSP and Josh Koscheck fight.
Right.
And
which was a title fight.
That was my birthday.
It was your birthday. It was your birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you. And I did ask for a birthday present, and I got it.
You did. You wanted Koscheck to get knocked out.
I wanted Koscheck to. Well, he didn't get knocked out.
No, he didn't get knocked out.
But he got beat. And that's good enough for me.
I'm gonna say this. I'm a type of guy like if I'm a lose, I want to go out on my shield. You know what I'm saying? Knock me the fuck out.
I think
because you know why? Because I'd rather get knocked out than you beat the brakes off me for five straight rounds. It was.
We'll get to that. Let's start slow.
No. Let's start there. Let's start there.
We'll start there. Since that was the best fight of the night, anyways.
Right.
You know, hey, Freddie Roach pays dividends.
Well, dude, I mean, what was funny was GSP was saying that people expected him to go and beat him on the ground, and he wanted to switch it up, and he beat him standing up.
I mean, he outsmarted Koscheck because Koscheck was really sold on the. I do very well against wrestlers, and Kaz was like, "Well, I'm not a wrestler anymore." Right. Well, you're not much of a stand-up fighter either because GSP jabbed the hell out of you.
He's slowly progressed as a stand-up fighter. Koscheck has.
He's not a stand-up.
But I mean, it seems like GSP was just far so. And then they use a jab. That's a basic punch.
Hey, Josh Koscheck, man. Hey, your eye look like a swollen vagina. Just want to say that, man. Yeah. That's best. That's all I can do. That's about the best.
He's gonna make your eye look like a swollen vagina if he ever sees you.
That's all right. I'll take that. Hey,
right.
I'll take that ass whooping. The other fights on that card was.
It was a lackluster card.
It was a terrible card.
It was key fights on this card.
Listen, when Stefan Struve and Sean McCorkle are the co-main event.
Somebody needs to be punished for that.
Joe Silva.
Somebody deserves lashes for that.
Joe Silva, you need to headbutt a knife, dog. Really, your fight cards are terrible.
It was key fights to this card, and the reason why is because it was two lightweight fights that stood on that card.
Obviously, you're talking about Mac Danzig and Joe Stevenson.
Mac Danzig and Joe Stevenson, and the Jim Miller and Charles Oliveira fight. Yeah. Which Jim Miller's a beast. The Miller boys is a beast in general, but Jim Miller is a beast.
Jim Miller is a monster.
Which I feel he should be a top contender for a title fight.
It's crazy how both of them dudes went for toe holds or knee bars, and Oliveira didn't try to push out.
What was funny was it's like he underestimated him, and you know it was just like, oh, you just gonna give me your knee?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Let me hug the shit out your kneecap. Why, since you want to give it to me?
He's got a better respect for that black belt of Jim Miller's today.
Right, I'm sure he does. And then I'm gonna tell you, the surprise was Mac Danzig knocking out Joe Stevenson, because Mac Danzig was holding on to his UFC career by a thread. And
the worst Ultimate Fighter winner to date.
No, that would be.
Oh no! I'm sorry.
The actual kid who was the first fighter to get cut from the tough fighter to get cut from the UFC. But the
Second.
reason, right? So he is a close second. But the reason this is so important is because of the fight that's coming up next week between Edgar and Gray Maynard. And then
also
with the WEC and the UFC combining. And they're bringing in their lightweight bantamweight in. So
tell us about the WEC.
The WEC event to me was another really exciting.
The final WEC,
right?
event.
And it was final. The reason why I would put that fight card as a close second in the fight card of the year is because it was just so entertaining. And if you watch the last fight, which was the lightweight title fight between Ben Smooth Henderson and Anthony Showtime Pettis. The fight was, it was a back and forth fight. Later in the rounds, Pettis, I don't know if that motherfucker went into his corner and they gave him a power pellet up his ass or some shit like that. But he put on an amazing performance. And the Showtime kick off the cage, best MMA move of the year, hands down. So it's going to be interesting to see who wins the fight on New Year's
between Maynard
and then who's going to fight Pettis to unify the belts, and if Jim Miller is going to be a title contender coming up.
Jim Miller should have been doing his Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, he should have did the Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, that would have been very fitting because he's proven himself as a lightweight contender in the UFC
and has never got a sniff at the title, but
never.
He definitely is deserving. And next week's fight, it should prove to be entertaining as well. But I'm gonna say Gray Maynard wins out on that.
I think so. Great. They don't call him the bully for nothing.
Don't expect a big to do about that fight card because it's again one of the worst fight cards ever assembled.
But to start your year off, isn't it the card title resolution? Well, Joe Silva should have made his resolution to make better fucking fight cards for the fucking 2011 year. 2010
Strikeforce kicked your ass all year,
dude, and they only put on 4 shows this year,
and it's on Showtime. It's not even pay-per-view.
Just pay the extra $10 a month to add Showtime to your cable.
One last thing we want to talk about on here is the destruction of one of our favorite boxers,
right.
Paul the Punisher Williams.
Well, let's do this. We're gonna do an in-depth end of the year show.
Yes, we are.
So make sure you tune in next week.
From Reg's Barbershop.
Right, we'll be at what is it? Shears. You just threw me off with that. Anyway, we're going to Reg's Barbershop. Blazing Shears in Addison. In Allen, Texas. Blazing Shears in Allen, Texas.
We're going to do our 2010 recap show.
And we're going to do a box because it's very interesting because now, just last night it was reported that Manny Pacquiao will fight Shane Mosley for the title next year.
Good stuff.
Good shit. So, what a way to end 2010.
Until next time, I'm Chuck.
And I'm Dean.
And you were in the clinch.